Experts agree we should all listen to the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. The podcast that yells, fill her up and check the oil at the gas station. And now he never got the summertime blues. Here's Medicare expert Doug Jones.
Hiya, kiddies. Where do you think that came from? That came from a childhood cartoon show that was on Sundays. I think it was Andy Devine had a cartoon show, and he would say, hiya, kiddies. Or that was the one where he had a frog, and maybe the frog said, hiya, kiddies. Anyway, thank you for joining us with the Medicare, or at the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. Andy Devine and his frog had kind of a depressing cartoon show because there wasn't a bright background. It was all pitch black. So when I watched it, I thought, oh man, that's got to be a very unpleasant place to host a kiddie cartoon show. On the other hand, Arizona is a fantastic place to host a Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast because the weather is always sunny. And, except for today and a couple of days in the past, it's always warm and pleasant. So we always enjoy our sojourns in Arizona. And I am proud to be able to podcast from Cave Creek, Arizona. Now, what we have here is a little attempt to help people feel comfortable about the transition from Obamacare to Medicare. And as my Canadian nephew, Drew McMillan, just told you, I am your Medicare expert. I don't know what else he might have said about me. I'm hoping it was complimentary, but I have no way of knowing until I listen to this work of art, just like you're listening to it right now. And often at the very beginning, after listening and talking about why we're here and listening to Drew and discussing my book, Medicare for the Lazy Man, Simplest and Easiest Guide Ever, I ask Randy, and he responds eventually to play our 30-second radio spot. And so let's listen carefully for that to happen. Medicare is complicated. Medicare can be confusing. Medicare is no fun to study. Will you know what decisions to make when Medicare time arrives for you? My name is Doug Jones, and I wrote a book to help you figure it all out. Medicare for the Lazy Man. It's on sale at Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. Also, you can download and listen to my podcast, Medicare for the Lazy Man, wherever fine podcasts are given away free of charge. Medicare for the Lazy Man, simplest and easiest guide ever. Okay, thank you, Randy. I appreciate that. And it's frankly, I've told a little bit about why we're here. I haven't told people where to go to buy the book. That would be Amazon.com. Looking for Medicare for the Lazy Man, simplest and easiest guide ever, with the red 2021 on the cover. That's going to change at some point. While I'm back in Illinois, I'm going to be working assiduously to prepare the next book for publication. That would be the Medicare for the Lazy Man with the green 2022 on the cover. So keep an eye out for that one. Not ready yet, but it'll come sometime soon. Randy, join us, will you? How are you doing today?
I'm good. I just wanted to mention, you were talking about the weather in Arizona.
Yeah.
Did you know the other night I got up to let the pup out to do his business? And I thought, my gosh, it's cold out here. What is he, a dope
dealer? What?
Yeah, he is. He actually is. I had to go down his corner and deliver something. It wasn't dope, though.
Oh, okay.
It was not anywhere close to that.
I'm a dope for even bringing it up. I'm sorry.
So I'm standing on, well, holy bananas, it's cold out here. And I looked at the thermometer. You know how cold it was?
Well, Mary saw 35 the other morning, so I'm guessing in the 30s.
Well, I saw 38 and I'm going, holy cow, it's cold.
Yeah.
This is like Arizona. It's definitely Arizona freezing, but way below.
Yeah, I know it. And frankly, I've looked it up statistically. December is the coldest month in Arizona. So you would think that when January 1st comes around, we can heave a big sigh of relief. But I remember in some years past, the kind of weather you're talking about happened in April.
No kidding. Oh my gosh.
March, and once in a while in April. Doesn't last very long, few days, but it's still unheard of in Arizona, you would think. That's close enough to the summer solstice that we wouldn't have that horrible frigid nighttime weather. But every once in a while, Arizona can disappoint. She's a harsh taskmistress.
She is. And then the other hand, then you can move a few months forward and you can more than likely fry your breakfast eggs on the sidewalk.
And you know something? That's what we pay for. We sit through a winter that's better than it is up north so that we can enjoy the frying of the eggs on the sidewalk and the wearing of oven mitts to open the car doors.
Oh my gosh. I used to think they were teasing me. I mean, I've been out here for 20 years, a little over 20 years, but when I first moved out here, they were saying, hey, always carry a pair of oven mitts in your glove box, which doesn't do any good because you're trying to get into the car. And that's when you need them.
Yeah. You need your fingers to actually work.
I've remodified all my fingerprints because most of they have been welded and pulled off of my Jeep door for several years now.
Right. Well, eventually, theoretically, your skin grows back, I would hope, after, being stuck to a hot surface like that and yanking it away. I don't know. I was out here a lot when I was a kid, and it was never bothersome to me. When it was cold at night, I'd get up, I'd eat breakfast. My grandmother, ironically, was a creature of habits, and she would always say, go do your business. It sounded very much like your dog. But after that, I was on my own all day, and I'd go out and ride horses and do all this fun stuff. I would go swimming, and it never seemed to be too cold to do any of that stuff outside. Now that we're old and our blood is thin, and we wake up in the morning, and when the thermometer says it's in the 30s, that's just horrifying.
You were a kid. I can't imagine, even if you were a kid, that you would like diving into a pool that was Arizona freezing.
Well, the other thing is the pools were all heated. They were, resort type pools.
Oh,
so once you're under the water.
Yeah, so they probably weren't anywhere. They were probably in the 60s water temperature, maybe more.
I would say 70s at least.
Yeah.
And so it was never, I don't look back and remember anything uncomfortable until I was a teenager. I'll tell you one uncomfortable story. This was really uncomfortable. I was staying with my grandmother. Yeah, because my grandfather had died. So this is like 1965-ish. And I came out for spring break, and a good friend of mine from high school came out for spring break also. And he was supposed to kind of ride herd on another family of kids that had come out for this guy designed golf courses, and he had 3 sons, like 12, 10, and 8 or something. And so my friend stayed at the Joe Cocky Inn, where I had stayed a lot when I was younger. And I stayed with my grandmother on Pasadena, 32nd and Pasadena, basically. And I didn't really know her neighbors, and I think they were all of a younger generation. She wasn't real close to her neighbors, but I happened to discover the very cute girl lived next door to her. And so my friend saw that, and he said, oh, I'm going to go over and have a little chat with her. And then he wound up with a date. He said, I'm going to take her out on a date. Now, as part of his perks for babysitting or, watching these 3 boys, the golf course designer had rented him a Mustang convertible to drive around in. And so I said, really, you're going to come over, pick her up, take her on a real date? And he said, yeah, I am. This is going to be fun. She's really, really nice looking. So he came over at like 6 o'clock some evening, dropped her off at close to 10 o'clock. I talked to him the next day and I said, how did your date go? And he was just like, he was almost frozen with terror. He said, do you know how old she is? And I said, well, I would guess, 16-ish, maybe. He said, she's 12.
Oh my gosh.
And both he and I were going, oh God, what, how are we going to get out of this? And what if she yells that something bad happened? He said, when I found out how old she was, that's when the date was over as far as I was concerned. But who lets their 12-year-old girl go out with some high school guy from far away?
On a date, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Pretty weird.
Well, now that I was planning on taking you to the movies, but instead we are going to go to McDonald's and get an ice cream cone.
Yeah, there you go. And then we're going to read comic books.
And then we're going home.
Yes, and we're going to get there before your parents are asleep so that they can see that you're just fine.
You got that right. Oh my gosh.
Well, enough.
That's enough to give you a heart attack even when you're 16.
Yeah, I wasn't even involved, and I felt badly for the whole situation. And that was before all that Me Too stuff got popular too. I mean, we had very kind of strict upbringings, and so we were always concerned about bad things happening in that regard. And it turned out that could have been a bad thing. That's just a real weird situation. But she was gorgeous, though. She was tall and gorgeous for being 12 years old. So,
wow.
Anyway, I'm going to address a Medicare subject today that has been a bone of contention with a lot of the people that contact me. I would say maybe 25% of the people that contact me have stumbled across government advice to select only a certain type of rating scenario for Medicare supplements. And the government tells you it's very important to pay attention to this so that later on in life, as you've had Medicare supplement for quite a while, that the rates don't increase faster than they should increase. And of course, being a government edict that one should pay attention to this, it's hugely flawed. But I thought I'd go over it again for people that haven't heard me address this in quite some time. Basically, for Medicare supplement plans, companies have two goals. They want to sell a lot of product, and they want to price the product high enough so that they can make money at it. They want it to be profitable. So it can't be so low that they lose money on it. That's not going to further their goals of staying in business. But also they want to make sure that it's profitable for them and it's attractive to the buying public. They don't typically want to price their product out of reach of the shopper. So you've got a Medicare supplement plan from a given company, and they have typically 3 different ways that they can calculate the rates for their potential clients. And according to this article, I should probably read some of this, although it didn't print very well and it slopped over the extra side of the page. So it says each insurance company decides how it will set the price or the premium for its Medigap. That's what they call these things, Medicare supplement policies. It's important to ask how an insurance company prices its policies. Now, there's the first flaw. It is not important, and I think you'll see that later on as I explain this whole thing. But this article and the government seems to think that it's important for you to know how a particular company prices its product. And it says the way they set the price affects how much you pay now, which is true, and in the future, which is not really true, at least not the way they mean it. Then it says Medigap policies can be priced or rated in 3 different ways. The first one is called community rating. Now, this article then in parentheses says it's also called no age rated. Well, that's not a term I've ever heard before. I think they just made that up for this article because they had the other 2 with little parenthetical descriptions as well. But in this case, it's never been called that. It's just called community rating. And the way a company using community rating does it is they charge the same monthly premium to everyone who has the policy, regardless of age, and also regardless of sex. This article didn't seem to say that. What this pricing may mean for you: your premium is not based on your age. Premiums may go up because of inflation and other factors, but not because of your age. And here's an example. Mr. Smith is 65. He buys a Medigap policy and pays $165 monthly premium. Mrs. Perez is 72. She buys the same Medigap policy as Mr. Smith. She also pays $165 monthly. This type of Medigap policy, everybody pays the same price regardless of age and regardless of sex. This article did not say that. And the reason community rating is not common is because no insurance company in their right mind uses community rating unless they're forced to by the state they're domiciled in. And I want to say, I think there may be 3 or 4 states that force their insurance companies that are domiciled in the states to use community rating. I'm going to say New York is one. I believe Connecticut is one, California, and Washington state of Washington. Those are the four that come to mind right away. But here's the problem with community rating. And here's why insurance companies don't like it. And they have to be forced to use it. And they all have to be forced to use it so that nobody has a competitive edge. With community rating, so there's no difference between the age and the sex of the cost of the product. The insurance company cannot predict their profitability without knowing what their clientele is going to be. So since they can't charge more for older people, less for younger people, or more for men or less for women, they don't know who's going to sign up for their plan. So they're victimized by the unknown, and they will have to pay the consequences or reap the benefits if, in fact, the wrong or the correct age and sex group wind up buying their product. And they don't know whether that's going to happen or not. And so they price the product higher than it has to be priced. Now, who does that hurt? That hurts the citizens of the state that has forced the insurance company to use this ridiculous community rating. So when insurance companies cannot predict the risk that they're forced to take on, then all of a sudden you find the prices higher than they would normally be, because the insurance company doesn't want to lose money and go out of business by having priced their product too low. So community rating is never to any insured's advantage unless you're like 99 years old. By then, you've already got the coverage that you're going to have the rest of your life, I'm sure. So that's the first one they discuss in this article. The second one is issue age rated, and the parenthetical description is also called entry age rated. That means when you purchase the product, you've entered the group of insured people that this company is selling their Medicare supplement policy to, and you're a certain age when you purchase the product. And the description goes on to say it's a premium based on the age that you are when you buy, or when the product is issued to you. That is the Medicare supplement policy. What this pricing may mean for you: premiums are lower for people who buy at a younger age, and they won't change as you get older. Premiums may go up because of inflation and other factors, but not because of your age. Now, keep that in mind, because that's a very important little area of wiggle room that they've written into their description. Premiums may go up because of inflation or other factors, but not because of your age, it says. So that is, and then here's a little example. Mr. Hahn is age 65. He buys a Medigap policy and pays $145 in monthly premium. Mrs. Wright is 72. She buys the same Medigap policy as Mr. Hahn. Since she is older, when she buys it, her monthly premium is $175 as opposed to $145 for Mr. Hahn. So that is the explanation of issue age premium rating. Now, this is where people get misled, because they believe that the younger you are, the cheaper it's going to be, and it's never going to get any more expensive. And that is bourgeois. That is not true. And it all lies in that little phrase they used: premiums may go up because of inflation and other factors. What might be another factor? The other factor might be that the insurance company is losing money and they have to increase their rates in order to become profitable again with that particular product. So that's why the insurance premiums are going to go up on an attained age rated policy, no matter what, an issue age. It's not going to make any difference that the other insurance companies have a different rating rationale. This is going to cause the insurance company to have to come up with just different excuses to raise the rates. Now, here's the third and most common, most frequently encountered premium calculation method, and it's called attained age rated. How it's priced: the premium is based on your current age, the age you have attained, and so the premium goes up as you get older. So every year you get older and the premium goes up a little bit. What this pricing may mean for you: premiums are low for younger buyers, but go up as you get older. They may be the least expensive at first, but they can eventually become the most expensive. Premiums may also go up because of, where have we heard this before? Because of inflation and other factors. So here's the example. Mrs. Anderson is 65. She buys a Medigap policy and pays $120 monthly premium. Her premium will go up each year. So next year at age 66, her premium goes up to $126. At 67, her premium goes to $132. At age 72, her premium goes up to $165. Mr. Dodd is age 72. He buys the same Medigap policy as Mrs. Anderson. He pays $165 monthly premium. His premium is higher than Mrs. Anderson's because it's based on his current age. Mr. Dodd's premium will go up every year. At 73, his premium goes to $171. At age 74, his premium goes to $177. So then it says, note, the cost of Medigap policies can vary widely. There can be big differences in the premiums that a different company will charge for exactly the same coverage. As you shop for a Medigap policy, be sure to compare the same type of Medigap policy and consider the type of pricing used. For example, compare a Medigap Plan G from one insurance company with a Medigap Plan G from a different insurance company. Therefore, the cost of your Medigap policy may also depend on whether the insurance company offers discounts, like discounts for women, non-smokers, or people who are married, discounts for paying yearly, discounts for paying your premiums using electronic funds transfer, or discounts for multiple policies. And some companies are able to use medical underwriting, and they'll apply a different premium when you don't have a guaranteed issue rate. Or when you're in a Medigap open enrollment period, which would typically be when you first turn 65 or when you first retire from your employer group plan. So if a company sells Medicare Select, offers a high deductible plan, I love high deductible plans. Let's see. Randy calls them high value, of course, and I think that's a much better description. If the company offers high deductible option for plans F or G, if you buy plans F or G with a high deductible option, you must pay the first $2,490 of deductibles, co-payments, and co-insurance not paid by Medicare. Well, they don't tell you here. That only applies to 20% of your medical expenses. Medicare, after its little Part B annual deductible of $233, Medicare is going to pay 80% in full of your medical bills, and the deductible that gives you such a low premium is only going to apply to the 20% of your Medicare expenses that Medicare doesn't pay. But this article doesn't say that. It doesn't explain very carefully how your risk is limited, and especially in how your risk is limited with such a great reward of a low premium cost with the high deductible plans. So then it says here, if you bought your Medigap plan before, Plan J, Plan J, nobody talks about Plan J anymore. So what we have here is an article that explains the various rating methodologies, of which there are 3, but it doesn't explain why it lies and tells you to stay away from attained age rating. It is not something to be fearful of, because all these insurance companies want to make a profit, and yet they all want to keep their prices competitive. So those are the 2 pressures always at work. And if a company finds that it's not making money at a certain rate level, doesn't matter what the rating methodology was, it's going to increase those rates, and you can't do anything about it. Remember those little phrases that were, basically added to every description? They can raise the rates for inflation or other reasons, and they will raise those rates if they feel they need to remain profitable, and they won't raise them if they're profitable and competitive at a lower rate. So that's it's always complex and hard to understand if you're talking about numbers on a podcast, Randy, but I just wanted to say that some of these people are tricked by this government propaganda that they should pay attention to the rating methodology, and it's really not a big deal.
Are you going to, I know you had discussed earlier about giving folks a quiz on this. Are you still thinking about that?
I'm thinking not, because if anybody flunks it, I'm going to feel as though it was my fault. And I don't like it when I'm at fault for things. So now we'll skip the quiz. We'll give everybody an A. How's that?
All right. I like to hear that. I hear that. I got to tell you a real short story, and then we're going to have to sign off because the crickets have spoken.
Oh, boy. They were silent today. Go ahead. Tell me your story.
The story is that sometimes you just have to shake your head and wonder, what part of the universe somebody dropped out of.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I'm in a college class. I think it was a freshman class when I first went to college. And the professor of that particular class is explaining how he's going to grade for that particular semester. And he said, yes, we're going to have 3 tests. We're going to have I think it was just a midterm and a final. And then there was a quiz, 2 or 3 quizzes throughout the course of the semester. And he said, no, throw out your lowest quiz.
That makes perfect sense.
Somebody raised their hand, and guess what they asked?
I don't know.
Can't I pick the quiz I throw out?
Wouldn't that person pick the lowest quiz score?
Well, you would think. And everybody's looking around at each other going, did I miss something here? Or wouldn't we want to throw out the lowest quiz? Or does he want to throw out the highest quiz?
I'm guessing that person's every quiz score that person has is going to be lower than the last one. It sounds like he's on a downward spiral.
Yeah, I don't think he was amongst the higher echelon of that class grade wise.
Yeah.
But I still remember that going, and I'm just shaking my head going, dude, what are you thinking?
That's completely ridiculous. But, I guess if you're a college professor, you see enough morons coming through that you can just answer a question like that. Sure, you go ahead. You pick it. I won't help you with that at all.
That was basically his answer. Yeah, if you want to throw out one of your higher go ahead. Just let me know.
Yeah. There you go. Oh boy. Well, I hope this subject matter wasn't too complex to do on a verbal or an audio only medium, because boy, it is tough to explain financial stuff and the less esoteric or the more esoteric elements of competitiveness and profitability, and throw all that into the mix. And it just irritates me that these people promulgate a lie. It's basically a falsehood that they can do any better with one rating methodology than another, but that the real evil one is that community rating. That's just horrible.
That would be just like, I always like to put things in terms that make sense to me.
Uh-huh.
That would be like you going to Ruth Chris or, some very, very nice restaurant.
Sure.
And everybody gets to pay the same for their dinner.
Yes, it is. It's very much like that. It's kind of communistic, really, because that takes away the opportunity to measure their potential risk from the insurance company, and they can't attract new business by having lower rates for some echelon, like all males. Typically, women pay less for health insurance than men. When you get to Medicare age, it reverses and women pay more often. Women pay less and men pay more. So insurance companies like to reward the people that are less risky with lower rates, but they're not allowed to do that under a rating scheme like community rates. They're just forced to charge everybody the same amount.
Yep. What's that new car cost? $3,000. What's that new one over there cost? $3,000. Could I get the low end car? $3,000. Oh,
yeah. Yep. Pretty sad. But people don't think ahead.
Well, Doug, I think we've probably going to need to bring the bus into the station. We've run out of gas and we're cruising into town here on Highway 30. And
we used to fly and we used to land at an airport, and it was always kind of fun. Now we're on a bus.
Yes, we're on a Greyhound bus
God.
some of the other local carriers, because we wanted to see all the country from Arizona to Illinois in person that you're going to be covering shortly.
Well, I'm going to be covering it that direction, but the part I'm going to really enjoy is running that video backward so that I can see what the country looks like going from Illinois to Arizona. And I'll be doing that in a month and a half, 2 months maximum, probably.
Yeah, sounds good. Well,
alrighty.
We probably better thank the folks for listening.
Absolutely.
Get to Amazon, get your books. Or if you like the colored version, you can always go to Barnes & Noble.
Sure. The illustrations are pretty colors in the Barnes & Noble paperback. But in the Amazon paperback, I've knocked $6 off of the price of each book by having black and white illustrations. So,
and it's easier on me because I don't have to color them all.
Yeah, there you go. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Randy, for coming in so close to Christmas to help me put out another quality podcast.
You are absolutely welcome. I enjoy the heck out of it. I have just spent, just like the audience, about 32 and a half minutes with Doug Jones, the insurance guy from Oklahoma, and now the guy heading east.
Temporarily, I hope.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Goodbye.